The screaming started 3 floors below the throne room. Oliver pressed himself against the marble column, watching as nobles in their fancy robes scrambled toward the exits. His mother grabbed his arm, trying to pull him along with the crowd, but he stayed put. Something about the chaos felt wrong. The guards were not running away. They were running toward something. "Oliver, we need to leave now," his mother hissed. Ambassador Rebecca Grant had that look she got when diplomatic situations went sideways. Her fingers dug into his shoulder. "Wait!" Oliver craned his neck to see past the panicking crowd. Through the massive doorway of the throne room, he could see movement. Something dark and fluid, like oil mixed with starlight. The temperature dropped so fast his breath misted in the air. A sound echoed through the palace. Not quite a roar. More like reality itself tearing at the edges. Oliver felt it in his chest, in his teeth, behind his eyes. Several nobles collapsed, clutching their heads. His mother pulled harder. "That thing will kill everyone. Here, move." But Oliver had been waiting 3 months for this moment. Oliver had been waiting 3 months for this moment. Void Serpent emerged into the grand hallway like a nightmare taking physical form. Its body stretched 12 feet long, covered in scales that looked like black crystal. But the scales were not solid. They shifted, phasing in and out of existence. Where the creature moved, the air went dark. Not shadow, absence. Like watching a hole punch through the world. 3 guards lay crumpled near the throne room entrance. Not bleeding. Just empty. Their faces gray, their eyes open and seeing nothing. High Tamer Sheely stumbled out next, his 4 arms hanging limp. The Calthrine Master had spent 40 years training creatures from across the galaxy. Blood the color of copper dripped from a wound on his scaled head. "Quantum nets," he gasped. It tore through quantum nets like paper. Emperor Valios IV stood in the throne room doorway. He was young for an emperor, barely into his 3rd decade. His crown sat crooked on his head. For the first time since Oliver had met him at state dinners, the emperor looked genuinely afraid. The Void Serpent turned its massive head toward the crowd. It had no eyes that Oliver could see. Just a face of smooth crystal that reflected nothing. But somehow it saw. Somehow it knew. It lunged forward. Not at anyone in particular. Just away from the throne room. Away from the containment field that had held it for 2 years. More guards moved to intercept. One fired a plasma rifle. The bolt passed right through the creature's phasing body and melted a hole in the wall. The Void Serpent's tail whipped around, solid for just a second, and sent the guard flying. Enough. Emperor Valius's voice cut through the panic. He stepped forward, raising one hand. The crowd fell silent. Even the Void Serpent paused its rampage. The Emperor looked at the creature, then at his court. His jaw tightened. When he spoke, his voice carried the kind of desperation that comes wrapped in dark humor. "I will give my world to anyone who can tame this beast." He laughed, but there was no joy in it. Draventus itself. The jewel of the Empire. "That is my offer." The nobles muttered among themselves. Some laughed nervously. Everyone knew it was impossible. The Void Serpent was a legend. A creature from the spaces between stars where nothing lived. Unkillable, untamable. 3 master tamers had tried. 3 master tamers were dead. Oliver's mother squeezed his shoulder one more time. "Please, Oliver." He pulled away gently and stepped forward. The crowd noticed. Conversations died. Oliver walked past the nobles in their jeweled robes. Past the injured guards. Past High Tamer Shelis, who looked at him with something between pity and confusion. "What are you doing?" The Emperor's voice was sharp. Oliver did not answer. He was watching the Void Serpent. Really watching it. Everyone else saw a monster. Oliver saw the way its scales flickered in a pattern. Fast, then slow, then fast again. He saw how it moved toward the outer walls, toward the large windows. He saw the way it recoiled whenever guards got too close, not attacking first, but defending. He had been watching this creature for weeks during his visits to the palace, sneaking away from boring diplomatic functions to stand outside the containment chamber. His mother thought he was exploring. She did not know he spent hours observing the void serpent through the observation window. "Stop," Valios commanded. 2 guards moved to block Oliver's path. "Let him go." The voice came from Shilis. The old tamer coughed, one hand pressed against his wound. "Let the human try. We have nothing left to lose." The guards stepped aside. Oliver walked until he stood 15 feet from the void serpent. This close, he could see how the creature's scales caught light and bent it strangely, how patterns of color rippled across its body, there and gone in an instant. The throne room behind him was silent. He could hear his mother crying quietly. The void serpent turned to face him fully. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of crystalline teeth, and beyond them, nothing. An abyss that went on forever. Oliver lowered himself to the ground and sat cross-legged on the cold marble floor. He made himself small, unthreatening. He folded his hands in his lap and looked down, not meeting the creature's eyeless gaze directly. "I know," he said quietly. "I know it hurts." The void serpent went completely still. Behind him, someone gasped. The Emperor took a step forward. Guards raised their weapons, ready for the killing blow that everyone knew was coming. Oliver reached slowly into his pocket and pulled out a small light device. The kind students used to give presentations. He pressed a button, and a soft blue glow illuminated his palm. He began to move the light. Slow patterns, circles and waves, copying the same sequences he had seen rippling across the creature's scales during those long hours of observation. The void serpent's jaws closed slightly. Its body stopped phasing, becoming solid, real. The patterns on its scales pulsed once, twice, then responded with their own sequence of light. Oliver's hand trembled, but he kept the pattern going, modified it slightly. The creature modified back. It was talking. They were talking. "Impossible," Shalice whispered. Oliver looked up at the creature's faceless head. In the reflection of its crystal scales, he could see himself. A 16-year-old human kid, skinny and scared, and absolutely certain. "You are not a monster," Oliver said. "You are just lost." The void serpent's whole body flashed with light. Every scale ignited like a star. For a moment, the entire hallway was filled with brilliance instead of darkness. And in that light, Oliver could read the message clearly. Yes, lost, alone, hurting. "I will help you," Oliver promised. He stood slowly, keeping the light device in his hand, maintaining the pattern. "But first, you need to trust me." "Can you do that?" The creature watched him. The court held its breath. The Emperor's hand was frozen halfway to his sword. The void serpent lowered its massive head until it was level with Oliver's chest, close enough to phase through him, to drain his life in seconds. Instead, it went completely solid. Crystal scales warm under the palace lights. And it held perfectly still. Oliver reached out with his free hand and touched the creature's face dot in the throne room. Someone fainted. Emperor Valios stared at the scene before him, at the human child touching the untouchable. His joke, his desperate offer, suddenly felt very real and very heavy. "Guards," the Emperor said slowly. "Stand down." 3 months earlier, Oliver had thrown up in the bathroom of the diplomatic shuttle. His mother found him crouched by the toilet, wiping his mouth with shaking hands. The jump through hyperspace always made him sick. She handed him a towel without comment and sat on the floor beside him. "Draventis will be different," she had said. "Bigger, stranger. Try to make friends, okay? Real friends. Not just the animals you find." Oliver had nodded, but they both knew the truth. He was terrible with people. Always had been. Put him in a room with a scared dog or an injured bird, and he knew exactly what to do. Put him in a room with other teenagers, and his brain just stopped working. Now, standing in the palace hallway with his hand on the Void Serpent's crystal face, he finally understood why people lied. Animals never did. The creature's scales pulsed with color under his palm. Patterns formed and dissolved. Oliver did not understand all of it yet, but he caught fragments. Pain, confusion, something that felt like the word help, but deeper, more desperate. "Everyone back," Emperor Valios ordered. The crowd shuffled away, creating a wide circle around Oliver and the serpent. Guards kept their weapons raised, but nobody moved to attack. Oliver pulled his hand back slowly. The Void Serpent tracked the movement, but did not strike. Its body remained solid now, crystal scales gleaming in the palace lights. That was good. When it phased, it was panicking. "It will not hurt anyone," Oliver said, not turning around. He was talking to the Emperor, but his eyes stayed on the creature. "Not unless you force it to." "That thing killed 3 of my best tamers," Valios snapped, "because they tried to control it." Oliver finally looked back at the young Emperor. "When did you capture it?" Valios blinked at the question. 2 years ago. A mining expedition in the outer territories found it near a collapsed star. "Why does that matter?" "Where exactly?" "The Phantom Rift, Sector 7. The Emperor's face hardened. "I tire of questions, human. You touched the beast. That proves nothing. Make it return to its containment, or prove your claim was empty theater." Oliver's jaw tightened. He turned back to the Void Serpent. The creature was watching him still, its faceless head tilted slightly, waiting. "I cannot make it do anything," Oliver said quietly. "That's the whole point." He held up the light device again. Started the pattern. Slow circles, quick flashes, a pause, then a wave. He had been studying this for weeks, copying the sequences he saw through the observation window. He still barely understood it, but he was learning. The Void Serpent responded. Its scales lit up in answer, creating patterns that Oliver's device could never match. Complex geometries of light that hurt to look at directly. "You were taken from your family," Oliver said aloud, translating as best he could. "You were near your spawning grounds." The creature's patterns pulsed faster. Confirmation, grief, something else Oliver could not name. His mother pushed through the crowd. "Oliver, what are you doing?" "Listening," he said. He did not look away from the serpent. "Dad taught me, remember? With the injured fox that summer. Everyone wanted to shoot it because it was biting. But Dad sat with it for 3 hours and found the broken leg." "Your father was a veterinarian," his mother said gently. "This is a quantum phase predator from deep space. It is hurt." Oliver's voice cracked. "The containment field. The quantum nets. They are hurting it every second. Like living inside a cage made of needles." High Tamer Sulis limped forward. 3 of his 4 arms hung useless, but he managed to stand tall. "The nets are necessary. Without them, the creature phases through all matter. It is impossible to hold. That is why it phases." Oliver turned to face the old tamer. "It is trying to escape the pain. You are torturing it. We are protecting the palace. You are protecting yourselves from a creature you never tried to understand." Shalice's face went hard. His scales darkened with anger. "I have spent 40 years studying beasts from across the galaxy. I know more about xenobiology than you have been alive to learn. Then why did you never notice it was trying to communicate?" Oliver shot back. The words came out sharper than he meant. "The light patterns. They are language. It has been screaming for help in a language nobody bothered to learn." Silence fell over the hall. The Emperor stepped forward, his boots clicking on marble. "Can you prove this?" Oliver swallowed hard. His hand was shaking around the light device. Give me 3 days. Let me stay with it. No containment field. No quantum nets. Just me and the serpent in a secure room. Absolutely not, his mother said immediately. That would be suicide, Shilise added. Emperor Valio studied Oliver with dark eyes. The young ruler looked tired, Oliver realized. Tired and alone despite being surrounded by thousands. There was something in his expression that Oliver recognized. The look of someone who collected things to fill an empty space inside. If I allow this, Valio said slowly, and you fail, the creature will be destroyed. It is too dangerous to keep. Do you understand? Oliver looked back at the void serpent. Its patterns had gone slow again. Dim. It was exhausted from the escape attempt, from fighting the nets. From 2 years of constant agony. I understand, Oliver said. Then you have your 3 days. The Emperor's voice carried across the hall. But I want guards posted outside every moment. And if that thing makes one move toward violence, my men will end it. Oliver nodded. He turned back to the serpent and created the pattern for follow. The creature hesitated, then began to move. Not aggressive. Just tired. Oliver walked backwards, maintaining eye contact with the faceless head, the light device pulsing in his hand. The guards parted. Oliver led the void serpent down the hall, away from the throne room, toward the lower levels where the containment chambers waited. His mother called his name, but he did not stop. Behind him. The Emperor watched with an expression Oliver could not read. Fascination, fear, something else. Maybe recognition. The walk took 20 minutes. Oliver's arms ached from holding the light device steady. The void serpent followed 3 feet behind, its crystalline body making no sound on the marble floors. Servants and nobles pressed themselves against walls as they passed. They reached the containment level. A large chamber with clear walls, designed to hold dangerous specimens. But the quantum net generators were powered down. Just empty space. Oliver stepped inside. The void serpent followed. The door sealed behind them with a hiss. For the first time in 3 months, Oliver was alone with the creature he had been studying. The thing that everyone called a monster. Up close, he could see how each scale was unique. How the patterns of light moved like thoughts across its body. Okay, Oliver whispered. He lowered himself to the floor again. Made himself small and unthreatening. Let me tell you about my dad. He died when I was 12, cancer. But before that, he taught me something important. The void serpent settled its massive body across the chamber, watching, listening. He said that people always think animals are simple, that they just react on instinct. But he said that was stupid. Animals are just honest. They do not hide what they feel. They do not lie about being scared or hurt or lonely. Oliver's vision blurred. He wiped his eyes quickly. I think people are the simple ones. We pretend we are not scared when we are. We hurt things because we are hurt. We cage things because we feel caged. The void serpent's scales began to pulse again. Slow waves of color that Oliver was beginning to understand. Not words exactly, emotions, meaning. It was not agreement. Not disagreement. Just acknowledgement. A shared understanding. Oliver pulled out his tablet and opened the star charts. Show me, he said. Show me where you came from. Show me home. The void serpent moved closer. Its crystal face reflected the tablet's glow. And then its scales began to create patterns that matched the star charts. Pointing, guiding, remembering. Outside the chamber, guards watched through the observation windows. Among them, Emperor Valio stood with his arms crossed, staring at the scene inside with an expression that was slowly changing from skepticism to something else entirely. 3 days. Oliver had 3 days to do the impossible, He looked at the void serpent and saw himself reflected in its scales. A skinny human kid and a creature from beyond the stars. Both of them lost. Both of them trying to find a way home. "Okay," Oliver said again. "Let's learn each other's language." The second night, Oliver dreamed in light patterns. He woke with a gasp. His neck cramped from sleeping against the chamber wall. The void serpent lay coiled in the center of the room, its body rising and falling with something like breath. The scales pulsed gently, even in rest, creating soft glows that reminded Oliver of deep-sea creatures back on Earth. His tablet beeped. He had 42 unread messages from his mother. He silenced it and went back to his notes. 2 days of constant observation had taught him the basics. The void serpent's language was not words. It was mathematics expressed through light. Geometric patterns that conveyed emotion and meaning simultaneously. A circle meant safety. Jagged lines meant danger or pain. Spirals meant question. Waves meant movement or journey. But there were patterns Oliver could not decode. Complex geometries that shifted too fast, that seemed to reference concepts he had no framework to understand. Last night, the serpent had created a pattern that made Oliver's eyes water and his head pound. When he finally understood it, he had to sit down. The pattern meant alone, but not alone. It meant connected across distance. It meant family dash that dash exists dash beyond dash, seeing the void serpent was not just lost. It was disconnected from something fundamental to its existence. "Morning," Oliver said aloud. His voice sounded rough. He had barely slept. The serpent's scales brightened in response. A pattern Oliver had started to think of as greeting. Simple circles with a quick flash at the center. Oliver pulled out the light device and responded in kind. His patterns were clumsy compared to the serpent's natural expression, but the creature seemed to appreciate the effort. The chamber door hissed open. Oliver looked up expecting guards with breakfast. Instead, Emperor Valios stepped inside alone. Oliver scrambled to his feet. "Your Majesty." "Sit," Valios said. He was not wearing his crown. Just simple robes that made him look less like an emperor and more like a tired young man. "I want to see this communication you claim exists." The void serpent's body tensed. Its scales flickered through warning patterns. Danger, threat, the thing that causes pain. "It knows you," Oliver said carefully. "It associates you with the containment field. I never operated the field personally. You ordered it built." Oliver met the Emperor's eyes. "That is enough." Valius's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He lowered himself to the floor, mimicking Oliver's cross-legged position. The movement was awkward, unpracticed. Emperors did not sit on floors. "Show me," Valius said. Oliver held up the light device. He created the pattern for peace, for calm. The void serpent watched but did not respond. Its scales remained flickering with tension. "It will not talk to you," Oliver said quietly. "Not yet. It does not trust you, because I am its captor. Yes." Valios was quiet for a long moment. His hands rested on his knees, fingers tapping in an unconscious rhythm. "My father collected dangerous creatures. Did you know that? He had a whole menagerie. Predators from across the empire. He said it showed strength. That ruling meant controlling things that could not be controlled." Oliver said nothing. He kept the light pattern going, trying to soothe the serpent. "When he died, I inherited the collection. Most of the creatures were old, dying. I released them or sent them to preserves." Valios looked at the void serpent. "But this one. When the mining expedition found it, they said it was unique. Possibly the only one in existence. My advisor said keeping it would prove I was strong like my father. And?" Oliver prompted. "And I was 23 and terrified." The Emperor's voice went soft. "Every day people tested me, nobles, foreign powers. My own military. everyone waiting to see if I would fail. So I kept the serpent. I put it in the best containment field money could buy. I told myself it was necessary. Oliver watched the young emperor's face, saw the shadows under his eyes, the weight he carried. My father died when I was 12, Oliver said. Cancer. It took 18 months. Near the end, he was in so much pain they had to keep him sedated most of the time. Valios looked at him sharply. I used to sit by his bed and hate the doctors, Oliver continued. Hate them for not being able to fix him. Hate them for the machines that beeped and the tubes that kept him breathing. But he was suffering and they were trying to help. I just could not see it because I was scared. That is different, is it? Oliver gestured to the void serpent. You caged something you did not understand because you were afraid. You told yourself it was necessary. But all you did was cause suffering. The emperor's face hardened. I could have you executed for speaking to me this way. But you will not. What makes you so certain? Oliver smiled slightly. Because you came here alone. Without guards. Without your crown. You came because you want to understand. Just like me. Valios looked away. His fingers stopped tapping. For a moment he looked very young and very lost. The void serpent's scales suddenly changed pattern. The warning colors faded. Slowly, carefully, it created a new sequence. Spirals and waves. A question directed at the emperor. Valios stared. What does that mean? Oliver translated as best he could. It is asking why you are sad. I am not sad. Yes, you are. Oliver kept his voice gentle. And it can tell. Void serpents are empathic. They sense emotional states through quantum resonance. That is how they stay connected to their family groups across vast distances. The emperor was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I am 25 years old. I rule 47 star systems. I have advisors and armies and power beyond measure. And I am so lonely I cannot sleep at night. Oliver did not respond. Just waited. My father raised me to rule. Not to connect. Not to feel. Every relationship is political. Every friendship is strategy. I collected dangerous creatures because they were the only things that could not betray me. They could only be what they were. But you kept them in cages, Oliver said softly. Yes, Valios looked at the void serpent. Really looked at it. I kept them in cages because that is all I know. Control or be controlled. Dominate or be dominated. The void serpent moved closer. Its massive body glided across the chamber floor with surprising grace. It stopped 3 feet from the emperor. Its faceless head tilted, studying him. Valios tensed. What is it doing? Deciding, Oliver said. Whether you are worth trusting. The patterns across the serpent's scales shifted. Complex geometries that Oliver still could not fully read. But he caught fragments. Pain giver. But also pain sufferer. Cage maker. But also cage dweller. The serpent understood. It saw the emperor as clearly as Oliver did. A young man trapped by his own power, caged by expectations and fear. Slowly, the void serpent extended its head forward. Not threatening, offering, an invitation. Touch it, Oliver said quietly. Valios shook his head. It will kill me. It could have killed me a dozen times in the past 2 days. It has not. You are not the one who caged it. No, Oliver agreed. But you are the one who can set it free. The emperor's hand trembled. He reached out slowly, fingers extended. The void serpent held perfectly still. Valios's fingertips brushed the crystal scales. Nothing happened. No death, no violence. Just contact. Valios exhaled shakily. He pressed his palm flat against the creature's face. The scales were warm. They pulsed with gentle light that seemed to sync with his heartbeat. I am sorry, Valios whispered. I did not know. I did not understand. The void serpent's entire body flashed with light. Not aggressive, accepting, forgiving. Oliver felt tears on his face and did not bother wiping them away. The Emperor sat there for a long time with his hand on the creature he had imprisoned. When he finally pulled away, his expression had changed. Something hard had cracked inside him. 3 days are not enough, Valio said. He stood, brushing off his robes. Take a week. 2 weeks. However long you need. Learn its language properly. Find out what it needs. It needs to go home, Oliver said. To the Phantom Rift, to its family. The Emperor nodded slowly. Then I will take it there myself. Oliver blinked. Your Majesty? I made a promise. Tame the beast and claim my world. Valio smiled, but there was no humor in it. You did not tame it. You taught me I was the beast all along. That deserves more than empty words. He walked to the chamber door, paused with his hand on the control panel. My father taught me to collect things I could not control, Valio said quietly. You are teaching me to let go. I think your lesson might be harder. The door opened. The Emperor left. Oliver sat in the silence, the void serpent beside him, both of them processing what had just happened. Outside, the palace was waking to the 3rd day. Rumors were spreading. The human boy who talked to monsters. The Emperor who sat on floors. The creature that might not be a monster after all. Change was coming. Slow and painful and necessary. Oliver pulled out his tablet and went back to studying star charts. Somewhere in the Phantom Rift, a family was waiting. He just had to find them. The Imperial Court meeting lasted 6 hours and accomplished nothing. Oliver sat in the observation gallery, trying not to fidget as nobles argued in circles below. His mother squeezed his hand periodically, a reminder to stay quiet. The void serpent waited in its chamber 3 floors down, probably wondering why Oliver had not visited yet today. The creature is an Imperial asset, Admiral Torvin declared for the 3rd time. He was a massive Calthrine with silver scales and 4 arms that he used for dramatic gestures. We cannot simply release it because a child asked nicely. The Emperor gave his word, someone countered. The Emperor made a joke during a crisis. It was not meant as official policy. Oliver's jaw tightened. Below, Emperor Valio sat on his throne looking exhausted. He had dark circles under his eyes that had not been there a week ago. The crown sat heavy on his head. The boy proved the creature can be communicated with, High Tamer Shi Li said. His wounds were healing, but he moved carefully. That alone changes our understanding. We could learn its language. Study how it phases between dimensions. The scientific value is immense. Study, Oliver muttered under his breath. His mother squeezed harder. And what happens when it dies from separation stress? Valius's voice cut through the chatter. The court fell silent. Oliver has explained this multiple times. Void serpents are quantum entangled with their family groups. Cut off from them, they sicken. We have had it for 2 years. How much longer do you think it has? Admiral Torvin straightened. Then we study it before it dies. Harvest samples. Preserve the body for research. We can still gain knowledge. Oliver stood before he could stop himself. It has a name. Every head in the court turned to look up at him. His mother tried to pull him back down. Too late. What did you say? The Admiral demanded. Oliver's heart hammered, but he kept his voice steady. The void serpent has a name. In its language, it translates roughly to wanderer between stars. It is not an asset or a specimen. It is a person. It is a beast, Torvin snapped. It has language. It has emotions. It understands concepts like family and loss and hope. What else do you need to qualify as a person? The court erupted. Half the nobles shouted him down. The other half looked uncertain. Valios raised a hand for silence, but it took several minutes to restore order. "This is the problem with humans," Torvin said when the noise died. "You anthropomorphize everything. You see consciousness where there is only instinct. I see consciousness where you see profit," Oliver shot back. His mother stood, grabbing his arm. "I apologize for my son's outburst, Your Majesty. He is young and does not understand political complexities." On the contrary, Emperor Valios leaned forward on his throne. "I think he understands perfectly. Better than most of us." He looked at Oliver directly. "Tell them what you told me. About the quantum entanglement." Oliver swallowed. All those eyes on him. His hands were shaking, so he shoved them in his pockets. "Void serpents navigate by staying connected to their family groups across any distance. It is like how Earth has a magnetic field that birds use to migrate. Except instead of magnetism, it is quantum states that stay linked regardless of separation." "Theoretical physics," someone muttered. "No, proven physics," Shili said slowly. The old tamer looked thoughtful. "Quantum entanglement is well established. If these creatures evolve to use it biologically, that would explain how they survive in deep space where there are no reference points." Oliver nodded. Wanderer was taken from near its spawning grounds. That is where family groups gather, where the quantum bonds are strongest. Being ripped away from that is like cutting off part of its brain. It has been slowly going insane for 2 years. The court was quiet now. Even Admiral Torvin looked uncomfortable. "If we take it back," Valios said carefully, "can it recover?" "I do not know," Oliver admitted. "But it will die for certain if we keep it here. I have been monitoring its health. It is getting worse." That was not entirely true. Oliver had only noticed the decline 2 days ago. The way Wanderer's light patterns were getting dimmer. How it took longer to respond to communication. How it sometimes phased without meaning to, its body losing cohesion. "Then we have a decision to make," Valios said. He stood, and the court rose with him. "I offered my world to whoever could tame this beast. Oliver Grant did something better. He taught us the beast was a person we had been torturing. That lesson is worth more than any world." Silence. Then Admiral Torvin stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I must protest. The resources required to mount an expedition to the Phantom Rift are substantial. For a single creature of unknown value." "The value is honor," Valios said coldly. "My honor, which you seem to think is negotiable. I think only of the Empire, then think of this." The Emperor's voice went hard. "We built an empire on strength and fear. We took what we wanted and called it progress. We caged creatures and called it science. What kind of empire does that build? One that lasts? Or one that rots from the inside?" Torvin opened his mouth, closed it. He had no answer. Valios looked around the court. "I am ordering an expedition to the Phantom Rift. We will return Wanderer Between Stars to its family. I will personally oversee this mission. Any who wish to object can do so now and face consequences for questioning Imperial will." Nobody spoke. Good. Valios descended from the throne. "We leave in 3 days. Prepare the fastest ship." He walked past Oliver on his way out. Paused just long enough to whisper, "Your father would be proud." Oliver's vision blurred. He blinked rapidly. The court dispersed slowly, nobles muttering among themselves. His mother pulled him aside once they were alone in the gallery. "Do you understand what you have done?" She asked quietly. "I saved a life. You changed an empire." She cupped his face with both hands. "That is bigger than you realize. Bigger than Wanderer. You showed these people that mercy is not weakness. That is dangerous knowledge. Why dangerous? Because it means they have to change. And people hate changing." Oliver looked down at the empty throne room. "The Emperor is changing." "Yes," his mother agreed. Because he is young and scared and lonely. Because you reminded him what it feels like to care about something beyond power. But not everyone will follow. Some will resist. She was right. Over the next 2 days, Oliver felt the resistance. Nobles who avoided him in hallways. Guards who whispered as he passed. Admiral Torvin, who made it clear the expedition was a waste of resources. But there were others. Younger courtiers who asked questions about Void Serpent communication. Scientists who wanted to learn the light language. Even some of the older nobles who seemed tired of the old ways. High Tamer Shalice visited the chamber on the 2nd day. His wounds were nearly healed, his 4 arms moving normally again. He stood outside the observation window, watching Oliver and Wanderer practice communication, when Oliver took a break. Shalice entered the chamber. "I owe you an apology," the old tamer said without preamble. "I spent 40 years studying creatures and learned nothing. You spent 3 months and understood everything." Oliver shook his head. "You knew facts. I just listened. Listening is harder than knowing." Shalice approached Wanderer slowly. The Void Serpent watched him with its faceless gaze. "May I?" Oliver nodded. He created the light pattern for peace, for safe. Wanderer's scales pulsed in acknowledgement. Shalice extended one hand. Wanderer considered, then pressed its crystal face into his palm. The old tamer's eyes widened. "I feel it," he whispered. "The quantum resonance. It is reading me." "Yes," Oliver said. "It knows you are sorry. It knows you are trying to learn." Shalice stood there for a long moment, his hand on the creature he had tried to control. When he pulled away, there were tears on his scaled face. "I have studied beasts all my life," he said quietly. "But I never tried to understand them. Not really. I will do better." He left. Oliver sat with Wanderer in comfortable silence. The creature's patterns were brighter today, more energetic. It knew something was changing. It could feel the hope. On the 3rd day, they prepared to leave. The Imperial ship was the fastest in the fleet, built for long-range exploration. Crew members loaded supplies while Oliver helped Wanderer aboard. The creature moved carefully up the ramp, its body phasing slightly from stress. "Easy," Oliver murmured. "We are going home." "Your home." Wanderer's scales pulsed with a pattern Oliver had learned to recognize. Hope mixed with fear. The chance of relief mixed with the terror of disappointment. Emperor Valio stood at the top of the ramp waiting. He wore traveling clothes instead of robes. No crown. Just a young man about to keep a promise. "Ready?" He asked Oliver. Oliver looked back at the palace. His mother stood with the gathered crowd, one hand raised in farewell. She was crying, but she was smiling too. Proud and terrified in equal measure. "Ready," Oliver said. They boarded together. The ramp closed. The engines hummed to life. And the ship carrying a human boy, a young emperor, and a creature from the spaces between stars lifted into the sky, heading for the unknown. The Phantom Rift 8 stars. Oliver pressed his face against the observation window and watched reality bend. Outside, space was wrong. Stars stretched like taffy, their light pulling into spirals that hurt to look at. The ship's instruments flickered and reset every few minutes. Navigation was impossible. "This is insane," Admiral Torvin muttered from across the bridge. He had insisted on joining the expedition, though Oliver suspected it was to document their failure rather than help. Emperor Valio stood at the captain's station, arms crossed, watching the displays with a frown. "How long until the navigation systems are completely useless?" "They already are, Your Majesty," the pilot replied. She was a young Calthrine with nervous hands. "We have been flying blind for the past hour. Whatever maps we had of this region are worthless. Space itself is not consistent here. Then how do we find the spawning grounds?" Everyone looked at Oliver. He swallowed hard and tried to project confidence he did not feel. Wanderer can guide us. That is what I have been saying. The creature is sick, Torvin said flatly. Look at it. He was right. Wanderer lay in the center of the cargo bay, visible through the internal monitors. Its scales flickered weakly. The light patterns that normally pulsed with vibrant color were dim and irregular. Oliver had been monitoring its condition for the past week of travel. Every day it got worse. It is dying because we are not there yet, Oliver said. His voice came out sharper than intended. The closer we get to the spawning grounds, the stronger the quantum entanglement becomes. But we are lost. We need to let it navigate. Let a half-dead creature navigate us through impossible space, Torvin said. Brilliant strategy. You have a better idea? The Admiral's face darkened, but he had no answer. Valios raised a hand for silence. Oliver, can you ask Wanderer to guide us? Will it understand? I think so. Oliver was not sure at all. But what choice did they have? He left the bridge and descended to the cargo bay. Wanderer's chamber had been specially modified for the journey. No containment fields. No quantum nets. Just open space and freedom. But freedom meant nothing when you were dying. Oliver knelt beside Wanderer's massive head. The scales felt cold under his palm. Hey, he whispered. I know you are tired. I know it hurts. But I need you to try. Can you show us the way home? The light patterns pulsed weakly. Too faint to read clearly. Please, Oliver said. His voice broke. I cannot do this without you. I did not know where to go. You are the only one who knows. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Wanderer's entire body shuddered. Its scales brightened slightly. Not much, but enough. The patterns formed slowly. Directions, not in words. In pure spatial mathematics that Oliver's brain struggled to process. Forward but also sideways in a dimension that did not quite exist. Through the fold where light bent wrong. Oliver pulled out his tablet and tried to translate the directions into something the ship's computer could understand. His hands shook. This had to work. If they got more lost, if they ran out of time, Wanderer would die, and it would be Oliver's fault for convincing everyone to make this journey. He returned to the bridge. I have coordinates. Sort of. Wanderer says we need to go through a quantum fold 30 degrees to port. Then follow the gravity well that does not show up on sensors. The pilot stared at him. That makes no sense, I know. The gravity well that does not show up on sensors, she repeated. How do we follow something we cannot detect? Wanderer can detect it. It is quantum entangled with its family. They are pulling it home like a magnet. We just have to trust that pull. Silence on the bridge. Every officer looked at the Emperor. Valios met Oliver's eyes. In that moment, Oliver saw the weight of the decision. Trust the human child and the dying creature, or turn back and admit defeat. Do it, Valios said quietly. The pilot's hands moved across the controls. The ship turned. Reality outside the windows twisted further. Oliver's stomach lurched. For a moment he thought he could see through the walls of the ship, through his own skin, into spaces that should not exist. Then it stabilized. Slightly. The instruments still flickered, but less frantically. It is working, the pilot breathed. The quantum distortions are decreasing. Whatever we are following, it is real. Oliver ran back to the cargo bay. Wanderer's patterns were brighter now. Still weak but improving. The creature's body had stopped phasing randomly. It was becoming more solid, more present. Keep going, Oliver urged. We are getting close. I can feel it. And he could. Something in the ship's vibration had changed. The hum of the engines sounded different. Even the air tasted strange, charged with potential. Days blurred together. Oliver stopped sleeping properly. He stayed with Wanderer, monitoring every change, translating every new directional pattern. The creature grew stronger as they traveled deeper into the rift. Its scales brightened. Its responses quickened. On the 7th day, alarms blared across the ship. Oliver sprinted to the bridge. The view screen showed something impossible. Shapes in space. Living shapes. Massive crystalline bodies that moved through vacuum like fish through water. Void serpents. Dozens of them. "Contact," the pilot said unnecessarily. Her voice was tight with fear. "Multiple quantum signatures. They are surrounding us." Admiral Torvin was on his feet. "Battle stations. Charge weapons." "No," Oliver and Valios said simultaneously. "They will destroy us," Torvin insisted. "They are Wanderer's family," Oliver said. He stared at the creatures through the viewscreen. They were beautiful. Each one slightly different. Their scales created light shows that painted the darkness with color. "They are protecting the spawning grounds. They think we are a threat. We are in a warship," Torvin pointed out. "Then we need to show them we are not here to fight." Oliver turned to Valios. "Open a channel. All frequencies. I need to broadcast." "What are you going to broadcast?" "Wanderer's language. I am going to tell them we are bringing their family member home." The Emperor hesitated only a moment. "Do it." Oliver pulled out his light device, but it was too small. Not powerful enough to be seen by the serpents outside. He looked around the bridge frantically. His eyes landed on the external lights. The ones used for docking and signals. "Can you give me control of the external lighting array?" The pilot looked at Valios. He nodded. Her hands moved. A control panel appeared on Oliver's tablet. Oliver's fingers flew across the screen. He created the patterns Wanderer had taught him: peace, family, returning the lost one. He broadcast them through the ship's lights, creating massive signals in space that the void serpents could not miss. The creatures stopped moving. Held position. Their own light patterns pulsed in response. Questions, suspicion, confusion. Oliver kept transmitting. He told them the story in light. The mining expedition. The capture. The quantum cage. The pain. And finally, the human boy who listened. The Emperor who chose honor. The journey home. It took an hour. His hands cramped. His eyes burned from staring at the tablet. But he kept going because Wanderer's life depended on it. All their lives depended on it. Finally, the void serpents responded. A cascade of light patterns from all of them simultaneously. It was overwhelming. Beautiful and terrible. Oliver's brain could not process it all, but he caught the core message. Bring the lost one. Show us. They want to see Wanderer, Oliver translated. He was shaking. They want proof we are telling the truth. Open the cargo bay doors, Valios ordered. Your Majesty, that is dangerous, Torvin protested. Open them. The pilot obeyed. The bay doors rolled back, exposing Wanderer to space. The creature did not need atmosphere. It had come from the void. This was its natural home. Wanderer rose slowly. Its body phased through the floor of the bay, becoming partially ethereal. Then it pushed outward, into space, toward its family. The reunion was instant. The other void serpents swarmed around Wanderer, their bodies intertwining in a dance of light and crystal. Their patterns synchronized, became one massive display that lit up the entire region of space. Oliver watched through the view screen with tears streaming down his face. He had done it. They had done it. Wanderer was home. The serpent's patterns shifted. New messages formed in the light. Not directed at Wanderer. Directed at the ship. What are they saying? Valios asked softly. Oliver struggled to read the complex geometries. They are grateful. They thought Wanderer was dead. They have been searching for 2 years. What else? Oliver squinted at the patterns. Then his eyes went wide. They want to give us something. They are offering to guide ships through the rift safely. They say they will create safe passages for trade and travel, in exchange for bringing their family member home. Silence on the bridge. Then Admiral Torvin laughed. It was not a happy sound. We came to return a creature, and they are offering us the entire Phantom Rift, the richest unexplored region of space. The trade routes alone would be worth trillions. We did not do this for payment, Valios said. I know. Torvin looked at the Emperor with something that might have been respect. That is why they are offering it. Oliver kept watching the void serpents dance in space. Wanderer was among them now, indistinguishable from its family. Home at last. One of the larger serpents broke from the group. It approached the ship slowly. Its patterns formed carefully. A message just for Oliver. Thank you, small lightmaker. You are now family. Oliver pressed his hand against the view screen. You are welcome, he whispered. The ship turned for home. Behind them, the void serpents continued their reunion dance. And Oliver finally slept. The palace felt different when they returned. Oliver noticed it immediately. The way servants smiled at him in hallways. How guards nodded with respect instead of suspicion. Even the nobles seemed less cold, though many still kept their distance. Change was slow, but it was happening. 6 months had passed since the journey to the Phantom Rift. 6 months of Oliver traveling between star systems as what Emperor Valios formerly called Ambassador of Understanding. It was a made-up title for a made-up position, but it gave Oliver authority to do what he did best. Listen to creatures nobody else bothered to understand. Today, he sat in the gardens with High Tamer Shalice, reviewing reports. The old Calthrine had become an unlikely ally. His 40 years of creature knowledge finally applied with empathy instead of domination. The ice forms on Talvos Prime are responding well, Shalice said, scrolling through his tablet. Once we stopped trying to kill them and started asking why they attacked the mining operations, the solution was obvious. They were protecting their eggs. So the miners moved their operations, Oliver said. 5 kilometers south. The Vorms leave them alone now. Production actually increased because the miners are not constantly fighting for survival. Shalice shook his head. 40 years. 40 years I could have been solving problems this way instead of building bigger cages. You are solving them now. That is what matters. A messenger arrived before Shalice could respond. Young Calthrine with nervous hands. Ambassador Grant? The Emperor requests your presence in the throne room. Immediately. Oliver exchanged glances with Shalice. Did he say why? No, sir. But there are representatives from 17 different star systems present. It seems important. Oliver's stomach tightened. He did not like crowds. Did not like formal occasions where everyone stared at him. But he had learned to handle it. Mostly. The throne room was packed. Not just nobles from Derventus, but visitors from across the Empire. Oliver recognized ambassadors from the mining worlds, the agricultural colonies, even the military outposts. All waiting in silence. Emperor Valios sat on his throne, crown glinting in the light. He looked older than his 26 years. More serious, but also more at peace than Oliver remembered from their first meeting. The young emperor who had caged creatures to feel strong was gone. In his place sat a ruler who had learned strength meant something else entirely. Ambassador Grant, Valios said formally. The room fell silent. Thank you for coming. Oliver bowed awkwardly. He still was not good at formal gestures. Your Majesty. You asked to see me? I did. We have a situation that requires your expertise. Valios gestured to a large view screen that descended from the ceiling. It showed a planet Oliver did not recognize. Green and blue, similar to Earth but with larger oceans. This is Kepler Station. A colony world on the edge of our territory. The image zoomed in, showing sprawling cities along the coastlines. 3 weeks ago, something came out of the ocean. The colonists call it a sea dragon. It has been destroying fishing vessels and attacking coastal settlements. Oliver studied the image. A massive creature with serpentine body and fins like wings. Scales that shimmered with bioluminescence. Have they tried communicating with it? They tried killing it, Admiral Torvin said. He stood near the throne, arms crossed. 16 military attempts. The creature has sunk 4 warships. Conventional weapons barely scratch it. So they want me to tame it, Oliver said quietly. No. Valio stood from his throne and descended the steps. He stopped in front of Oliver, meeting his eyes. They want you to understand it. To find out why it is attacking. To solve the problem without more death. He held out a datapad. Oliver took it automatically. What is this? Transportation to Kepler Station. A team of scientists and diplomats. Full authority to negotiate on behalf of the Empire. And a promise that whatever you need, you will have it. Oliver stared at the pad. Your Majesty, I am 16 years old. I am not a real ambassador. I just talk to animals. You listen to people others dismiss as monsters, Valios corrected. You showed us that every creature has a reason for its actions. That violence is usually fear or pain or desperation. You saved Wanderer. You opened the Phantom Rift to trade. You have resolved conflicts on 7 different worlds in the past 6 months. You are exactly what this empire needs. I could fail. The creature might be truly aggressive. Sometimes things cannot be solved peacefully. Sometimes, Valios agreed. But we will never know unless someone tries. Unless someone looks at the sea dragon and sees a person instead of a problem. Oliver looked around the throne room. All those faces watching him. Some skeptical. Some hopeful. He saw his mother standing near the back, her hand pressed to her mouth. Pride and terror in her eyes like always. If I go, Oliver said slowly, I need promises. No weapons. No containment fields unless absolutely necessary. And if I say the creature needs space, everyone backs off. Even the military. Done, Valio said immediately. Admiral Torvin shifted uncomfortably, but did not argue. The past 6 months had taught him that Oliver's methods work even when traditional approaches failed. Then I will go, Oliver said. His voice only shook a little. The throne room erupted in conversation. Valio smiled and clasped Oliver's shoulder. Thank you. I know this is not easy for you. Nothing about this has been easy, Oliver admitted. But Wanderer taught me something. Sometimes the scary thing is just something lost trying to find its way home. Maybe the sea dragon is the same. He left the palace that evening. The ship to Kepler Station departed at dawn, so he had 1 night to prepare. He spent it in the gardens, staring at the stars and thinking about his father. You would have liked this, Oliver said to the empty air. Creatures that everyone else gives up on. Problems that seem impossible. You always said the injured fox was your favorite patient because it forced you to be creative. A quantum shimmer disturbed the air beside him. Oliver's breath caught. He knew that feeling now. Void serpents displaced space when they moved between dimensions. Wanderer materialized slowly, phasing from somewhere else into the garden. Its scales glowed softly in the darkness. The creature was healthy now, strong, but it had not forgotten. You came, Oliver whispered. Wanderer's light, patterns pulsed. Greeting, affection. The bond they formed in that containment chamber had not faded. Void serpents never forgot those who saved them. Oliver reached out and touched the crystal scales. I am leaving tomorrow. Different world. Different creature that needs help. I am scared I will mess it up. Wanderer's patterns shifted. Not words exactly, but meaning flowed between them through the quantum resonance. The creature could sense Oliver's emotional state, fear, doubt, but also determination, hope. The patterns changed. Again, trust yourself, small light maker. You saved me. You can save others. You dash or dash, not dash alone. Oliver felt tears on his face. Thank you. Wanderer stayed with him until dawn. When Oliver boarded the ship, the Void Serpent watched from the garden, its patterns creating a light show of encouragement that could be seen from orbit. The journey to Kepler Station took 3 weeks. Oliver spent the time researching sea dragons, studying ocean ecology, learning everything he could. The scientists on board were eager to help. Word had spread about the human boy who talked to creatures. Some thought he was a genius. Others thought he was lucky. Oliver knew he was just someone who listened. Kepler Station appeared through the view screen as a blue-green jewel. The ship descended toward the main city, a sprawling settlement built on floating platforms. Below, the ocean stretched to the horizon. Somewhere in those depths was a creature everyone thought was a monster. Oliver pressed his hand against the window. "I am coming," he said quietly. "I do not know if I can help, but I promise to try. I promise to listen." The ship landed. The ramp extended. Oliver descended into chaos. The city was in a state of emergency. Buildings showed damage from the attacks. Fishing vessels sat broken in the harbor. People rushed past with frightened faces. A delegation met him at the landing pad. Local officials, military commanders, scientists with theories about the creature's behavior. Everyone talking at once, demanding action, wanting solutions. Oliver let them talk. He nodded in the right places, took notes, but his mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about Wanderer in that containment chamber, thinking about how everyone saw a monster, but Oliver saw pain. Where did the creature first appear? He asked when the officials finally paused for breath. "The deep trench," someone answered. "About 50 kilometers from the coast. It came up from the abyss 3 weeks ago." "Show me the trench. Show me where it lives." They did. Charts and maps and sonar readings. The trench was over 6 kilometers deep. A place where no light reached. Where pressure would crush a human instantly. The perfect home for something that wanted to hide. "What changed 3 weeks ago?" Oliver asked. "Why did it come up now?" Silence. Then one of the scientists, a quiet woman with gray hair, spoke up. "We started a new mining operation. Deep ocean drilling. We are extracting rare minerals from the trench floor." Oliver's heart sank. "You are drilling in its home." "We had no idea anything lived that deep," she protested. "The trench was supposed to be barren." It was not barren. It was just unexplored. Oliver looked at the maps. At the drilling sites marked with red dots. You invaded its territory, destroyed its habitat, and now you wonder why it is attacking. The room went quiet. The military commander cleared his throat. "So what do you suggest? We stop the mining?" "That operation employs thousands. The minerals are critical for our technology. I suggest we ask the sea dragon what it wants," Oliver said. He gathered up the maps and tablets. "And then we figure out a solution that does not require anyone to die. How exactly do you plan to ask it?" Oliver smiled slightly. It was the same smile he had given Emperor Valios 6 months ago. The smile of someone about to do something impossible. "The same way I always do. I will go talk to it." The next morning, Oliver descended into the abyss in a specially designed submarine. The scientists tried to stop him. The military said it was suicide. But Oliver insisted, and his authority as ambassador of understanding gave him the right to try. The submarine went down. Down past light. Down past familiar life. Into the crushing darkness where only strange lived. Oliver watched through the viewports as the world turned black. Then he saw it. Bioluminescence in the darkness. Patterns of light that looked almost familiar. Like wanderer's scales but different. Adapted for water instead of space. The sea dragon approached. Massive and beautiful and terrifying. Its eyes glowed in the dark. Its jaws could crush the submarine with ease. Oliver pressed his hand against the viewport. The creature stopped, watched, waited. He pulled out his light device. His hands shook, but he kept them steady. And he began to create patterns. Not void serpent language, but something simpler, universal, shapes that meant peace. That meant understanding. That meant I dash she dash you dash, and dash I dash not dash your dash enemy. The sea dragon's bioluminescence pulsed in response. And Oliver started to listen. Above, on the surface, Emperor Valios waited with the other officials. His crown sat uncomfortable on his head. His promise to Oliver echoed in his mind. Whatever you dash need dash, you dash will dash have. He hoped it would be enough. In the abyss, a human boy and a creature from the deep began a conversation that would change everything. Because that was what Oliver did. He listened when others saw only monsters. He found solutions when others saw only problems. He built bridges when others built walls. And slowly, one creature at a time, one world at a time, he was teaching an empire what it really meant to be strong.